YSK buying Spirit Airlines tickets is cheaper at the airport counter. Why YSK? Spirit charges a $23 fee called the passenger usage charge for each passenger and each leg of the trip. For example, a two-person, round-trip flight with no intermediate stops will have $92 fee added to the price if you purchase your tickets online. This can be avoided only if you go to the airport and purchase your tickets at the counter. The base fare can also be cheaper if you go to the airport counter. The base fare for my round trip would have been $41, but I actually paid $36. A little savings, but it's still a win nonetheless. You will need to check with your specific airport and see what times Spirit opens ticket counter. You can also check on the Spirit website as well, but sometimes that's not always updated. Edit: at the airport I went to, they are completely cashless. Please bring a physical card for them to process your payment. They didn't accept digital payments either. I would rather die than go to the airport on a day I don't have to be there. I'll also add that you will automatically be seated with everyone in your party and don't need to purchase assigned seating. This works for Frontier Airlines as well. But then you'd have to fly Spirit Airlines. I think it depends on the flight or something. Source: I just bought tickets for a round-trip flight between RDU and MCO and the receipt breakdown has $35 for the ticket and $30 labeled government's cut and nothing else. I've dealt with a fair number of delayed cancelled flights. I've never seen another airline, or honestly any other company, be actively hostile and as slimy as Spirit. Fuck Spirit Airlines. Would you risk missing your flight for such a small amount of money? The last time I flew Spirit Airlines I made a personal decision: if I can only afford Spirit Airlines, then I can't afford the travel. Every time I've booked with Spirit I think I got this, I can do it, it's not that serious, I regret it. Never again. For only $50 per person per segment, they won't punch you in the face as you board. YSK: not to ever fly Spirit. AKA the school bus of the skies. Knowing Spirit Airlines, they're scalping their own plane tickets. If the choice is Spirit Airlines or walking, I'll walk. I don't get the hate towards Spirit. I flew with them recently to AS, and round trip the ticket costs $180. I bring my own snacks on the plane and I don't fly for the comfort. It's a utility to get from point A to B and Spirit usually fits that as the cheapest contender. As you note, the Spirit desk at most airports has funky hours, e.g. not normal working hours, especially in lesser traveled locations, probably in an effort to stymie people buying tickets. I recommend looking up departures for the day and going to the desk 10 minutes before the last scheduled departure, since most people have checked and boarded by then. If you go too long before departure you'll get sidelined a lot of times, so they can check people in for the flight and also have to deal with a stressed attendant. LPT: avoid fees from Spirit Frontier by flying literally any other airline. For people who don't get the hate for these types of airlines like Spirit and Frontier, good for you. You keep flying it. The rest of us feel that way for a reason: we've been burned. Either by a flight cancellation, the invention of some ridiculous fee, or just having the worst experience. I'm happy it hasn't happened to you, but it probably will. That said, thanks OP for the post. Definitely interesting. Didn't know that, but when I did a Spirit flight it wasn't that bad. I had to fly from my city to DFW and not matter what airline I was on, Spirit was gonna give me the flight back free. Yeah, pay for luggage, which was annoying, but for a round trip it was altogether still cheaper than the others by a decent amount. I also got upgraded for like $10 to their first class on that free flight back. Who the fuck is going to the airport to buy a ticket, much less to buy a Spirit Air ticket, to save $23? Spirit Air is just going to come up with some random fee to charge you anyway. Boarding pass $5. You want to use your tray table? $8. You want a seat belt? $3 prepay or $25 during turbulenta. Use the bathroom? Piss? $2. Take a shit? $20. Everyone in here is shitting on Spirit and Frontier like any airline is actually worth flying nowadays. I mostly fly American and I haven't had a flight recently that wasn't delayed. Airlines in general have been on a decline recently and I don't blame Spirit or Frontier for giving cheaper options. It's not like they tout themselves as luxury or use things like secret flying to get ridiculous cheap airfare, just gotta be open to dates available for deals. Once bought round-trip tickets from Chicago to Amsterdam for $325 with the upgraded seats. I wonder if you can go in person to buy tickets at an airport different than you're planning to depart from. This applies for Breeze Airways as well. And discounts on Tuesdays. Don't fly Spirit. My daughter has been begging to take a trip on an airplane as she's never been on one. Maybe if I take her on a Spirit flight she'll stop asking. I was flying from Chicago to Myrtle Beach every other weekend when my mother was end-stage cancer. They cancelled my flight home for no reason, so I had to rent a car and drive to Charlotte to fly home so I could make it to work the next day. 25 of my Vegas flights would be rescheduled. Vegas airport after 10 p.m. is creepy. It's also cheaper to get mobile boarding passes from Get charged for it. It's worth paying more for Delta and get a TV. Spirit is Kmart. Lol, I did this once, and the agent at the airport booked me a ticket for the wrong date. I only realized it the day of my flight. Ended up having to purchase a same-day ticket on United to get home. At least Spirit refunded me. I wouldn't fly Spirit if the ticket was free. To all the people hating on Spirit, I flew it for the first time recently and TBH it was one of the better flight experiences I've had. Flight was mostly empty so I got a whole row to myself and it was $75 cheaper than any other option. Granted, this is only good if you're going somewhere you don't need luggage. YSK, you can fly a decent airline with an actual reserved seat and no hidden bar fees for about the same price as Spirit when you have luggage. LPT, don't fly Spirit if you have bags and want to get to your final destination. Pretty sure they charge you a fee for using the assistants at the counter as well. YSK, Spirit and Frontier are fucking terrible and not worth the discount. I've done this and it really saved a lot of money. I booked 2 trips at the same time. One thing to keep in mind: if you are paying for a bag, it's cheaper to do it online after you book the tickets. The agent selling me the ticket told me this so I wouldn't overpay. I've flown 2 round-trip and a one-way over the past year with them and had great customer service each flight. It had been years since I flew them before that. Question: can you do this for a different city than the one you're in? For example, if one lives in Dallas, could they buy tickets flying from Chicago to New York for cheaper? I used to work for Spirit. This is false, they just give different prices. Yeah. Let's pack our bags, drive to the airport, park, and go inside to maybe be able to save $5. No thanks. I'll pay $41 over $36 every fucking time just to have my ticket in hand before I leave the house. Can you imagine how frustrating it would be to go through all that work and not be able to board? All over $5. This is terrible advice, honestly. Avoid Spirit. The saving you thought will be eaten up. At the end of the day, you might save $7, but the bullshit isn't worth it. I'm glad I flew Spirit, said no one, ever. YSK, you shouldn't support bottom-feeder airlines like Spirit that are dragging down the industry and nickel and diming the flying public with bait-and-switch pricing tactics. Thankfully JetBlue, an actual decent airline, is buying them out. They can't disappear fast enough. Edit: I just love how all the pro-consumer, power to the people types turn into anti-consumer NPCs the minute they think they can save $5 on an airline ticket. Hilarious. Way to stand up for your principles, Reddit. How is Spirit like 2-3x cheaper than all other airlines? That's really good to know. Thank you for sharing this money-saving tip about buying Spirit Airlines tickets at the airport counter.